I suppose. So there's so many, like, it's such a long story of how I got started in MMA. So I'll just kind of start from there. One, I grew up working on a farm. I've always been super athletic, always very strong, like physically strong for being a female, for being as young and small as I was. And I figured that out not only working through life, but also starting to do athletics as a child, in school and stuff like that, and playing around all the way from like arm wrestling the boys at school to doing basketball, track, whatever it may be. And I was always just considered the tough girl or the strong girl. And my dad is a very protective father, and he was very big about us wrestling at home and like just roughhousing all the time. And as I got older, it started to be more and more technique. I didn't realize, but I was learning jujitsu as a very young child. He had been watching the UFC, we all did. And he took a very keen eye on the jujitsu aspect of it and started watching YouTube videos and stuff like that. Never got any formal training. We kind of live in the middle of nowhere and have a farm that he's always busy on. But me and my brother and sister and my dad would always wrestle literally every night, like an hour every night. We would just roughhouse around, but we're doing arm bars, we're doing chokes, we're doing even heel hooks and stuff, but we didn't know that's what they were. We're just playing around. And once I got old enough to understand, and we're sitting there watching a UFC fight, and I didn't realize women's fighting was a thing. I didn't pay attention to the politics of it. And I see Ronda Rousey come out, and I think it was her first UFC fight, and I think it was against Liz Carmouche. I can't remember for sure.
Yep, it was.
Okay.
And,
And
and Liz, granted, Liz actually did really well. Like there was that moment there where Liz had her
they
back, and
thought
I
she,
was like,
yeah, I actually rewatched that fight not too long ago, and I was like, oh, I don't remember, Ronda almost losing.
right. And
But yeah,
it's kind of weird with her because like they got rid of her, and I was like, have we forgotten how close she was to actually like dethroning Ronda before Ronda actually became Ronda, kind of thing? But yeah,
yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, watch that. And I remember sitting there and being like, whoa, I didn't know girls did this, and dad was like, you could do that one day. Like, you'd be good at that. And I was like, no, I don't want punched in the face. And that was literally my only response. And he was like, no, you could be world champ one day if you did that. He's like, you were literally raised for this. And I was like, and that was it. That was the end of the conversation. I'm 14 or so. I think I was 14 years old. Time goes on. I turn 16 and I go, Dad, I really want to start doing jujitsu in an actual gym. Like, I want to see if I can compete at this stuff. I love self defense, the whole aspect of it. I want to learn more. And I can't be rolling around with somebody that weighs 220 pounds all the time and then two little kids that weigh 60 pounds. Like, I want to go check it out. And he was like, all right, but you have to pay for it. But figure it out. He and my brother actually helped me cut firewood, and we sold that for my gas money and to get my money to go to the gym. So cutting wood for that, and then finally started working as a waitress right before I went to college. But started going to the gym, loved it. Fell in love with jujitsu within 2 weeks. Went to a gym that was a McDojo, as they'd call it. It was kind of a joke of a gym, but I'll credit them with getting me started. They had a juvenile class, and I was very nervous at the time to roll with men, with grown men. So I went to that class because at least the boys were my age, and get to roll with some teens and get more comfortable with that before I transitioned. But within like 3 days, I was sick of the teen class because I was beating them all up. And so I started participating in the adults class. Loved the feeling of beating up grown men that, I shouldn't be able to beat up, but jujitsu allowed me to. And just fell in love with the art of the sport, how much I could learn and how much I could grow. And ended up like quitting when I found out that I couldn't compete at that gym. They were not approving of competing there. And so I quit and went to another gym within the week. It was like my, I think, Christmas present or birthday present. My dad paid for like the first month for me somewhere else. And that's where I stayed until I moved to Virginia. So I went to the Springfield Fight Club, got there, got to Invicta, got it all done. When I was 17, I went to some amateur fights that were local and watched these women fight. I still wasn't ready to fight. I thought I would only do jujitsu. Was competing, won those, but I didn't want punched in the face yet. And at 17, I went to these amateur fights and watched these two girls fight. And it was disgusting to me, like how horrible it was. I was like, what was that? Like, four punches were thrown, and one of the girls like turned her back and was like crying in the corner. And I was like, what? That's the amateur circuit? And I was almost like embarrassed for women. at the time. And I was like, I can do better than that. Oh my goodness, I want to fight. And my coaches were like, hey, don't you be saying anything until you've been punched in the face. It's a different world. And I was like, I've been hit harder than that playing around at home, and I was like, I'll be fine. And so within a few weeks, I had talked to my coaches, and I already knew I was going to college in Springfield. So I was going to be within 2 miles of the gym. I was already like previously an hour away. So I was like getting lower gym fees. I was this kid coming in to train, so they were being nice to me. But when I moved there, I told them, I said, as soon as college starts, that week, the week I move into college, I will be here every single day. Every single day I'll start striking. I want to fight as soon as possible. They were like, yeah, everybody says that. And I was like, no, no, I'll be here. I actually skipped 3 out of 4 days of my student orientation just to go train basically all day for like 5 hours a day. Trained, had like 3 weeks of striking experience, and we had me a fight set up, which is not what I'm suggesting anyone who watches this to do, nor is it reality. I got very lucky. I had a weird thing going on. I had some natural ability about me too. I didn't, punch like this the first time I came into class. I knew what I was doing. And yeah, had a fight, told myself if one, I lost the fight, or two, I didn't like the feeling of punching a girl in the face, because I'm a nice person, right? I'm not the person who goes and gets in fights all the time or gets mad at people and gets violent. And so I was worried that I was going to feel bad about hurting girls, but I went in there and won my first fight, basically blacked out during it. I didn't hardly remember what happened, and loved it. Absolutely loved it. Told myself if I did love it and won, I would go be the best I could be. And got the call up to Invicta once I had had 8 amateur fights, turned pro by the time I was 19. And here I am in the UFC at 23. I actually technically got in the UFC at 22. So that was really exciting for me.